Hey, it's Ted here. I'm in my backyard today working on a Troy-built leaf shredder vacuum. That's something that somebody brought me and it wouldn't start. It's in pretty good shape. So looks like the carburetor's gummed up. It's a 2014 model, so let's get started here. So here it is. Here's the unit. This is a Troy-built. Same thing that Sears sells, at Lowe's, a little newer. It's got the vacuum hose and the bagger and the little chipper chute. So anyway, first thing I've done already is I've taken the air filter off again, that one little screw, to make sure you understand that goes right in here. Take that off and you get that out of the way. Got a couple of 5/16 socket, bolts here. You're gonna need a 5/16 socket for that, a little tight. Maybe you have a drop of Loctite from the factory. It's never been apart, obviously. So we're gonna take those two screws off and then I'll show you what's behind it. All right, I got the screws out here, the bolts. There's two of them here, and then pulling this off, there's a little tube back here. And that has to fit in that tube when you put it back in, as you'll see. So the first thing I'm gonna do before I rip this thing apart, I wanna take this bowl off. I wanna see what's in the bowl, if it's full of gunk or whatever, and that'll give me an idea if this thing is starving for fuel. All right, I got the float bowl off, and it's super stale. This gas is really stale, and it almost looks like it's discolored, like somebody put two-stroke oil or something in it. I don't know what's going on. All right, I know there's gas in the tank, and I dropped the float bowl out and the needle comes down. Either the needle is completely stuck up in the housing right now, or this passageway is fully blocked, or it's blocked in the tank. Gas should be pouring out of here right now because I know there's gas in the tank. So I'm gonna pull the fuel line off here. So there's the fuel line, and there's a clamp there, and I gotta take that clamp out, and I have this really cool pair of pliers here by Wrench Force. And they are flat on the end. Very cool. So if I can get it into the camera, we can actually see that number. There's the part number if you actually want to get a pair of these. These I randomly found someplace, I can't even remember, and I just saw them, and because they're just the right width, they work virtually perfectly for taking these fuel lines, clamps off. I've always looked for a tool for years working on mowers and stuff. There we go. That's the tool. That's it. That's the one that grabs them and takes it off. So another interesting tool to have. You never have enough tools, right? All right, I'm going to clamp off the fuel line with a pair of needle nose vice grips and then pull that fuel line off and see what we got. All right, I got the vice grips on the fuel line here. The moment I started to squeeze that fuel line, fuel started to come out of here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put this glass jar under here as best I can. I'm gonna loosen up that fuel line and watch the fuel just come pouring out of there. So I wanna flush that fuel line out with some fresh fuel. All right, so I think that's pretty good for right now. I'm gonna lock that back up with my needle nose vice grips here. And that stops the gas flow. And as you can see, that gas does have a little bit of a green tinge to it, so it's got a little bit of two-stroke oil. The other thing I'm looking for is any water, and that's a good sign. There's no water in the bottom of the fuel, so I think I'm just going to put the bowl back on, because now that I freed up whatever was in the needle and the seat was frozen, I think it's going to start right up now and run. So let's put it back together. And the jet for the carburetor, the main jet is actually part of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow this out with some carb cleaner and compressed air and see if I can't get anything that's in there out, because it looks like that may be gummed up a little bit too. So I'm going to do that real quick and then I'll put it back together. Got my float bowl here. That's got some debris in it too. I'm gonna rinse that out. There's a little piece of dirt in there that I can see. You can see that. So I'm thinking maybe that was part of the problem. A little carb cleaner here, clean this off. I'll put a little bit in here just to clean that off, any debris that's up in there. And then I'm gonna clean this bowl out. There we go. Okay, I did make a mark on it, but the bowl is round, so it does not matter which way it goes on. Just clean that edge up a little bit. Make sure there's no more dirt. Looks good. I've cleaned the jet out, so put this back up in place. Hopefully that gasket seals. If needs be, I'll have to order a base gasket. And I'll snug that up just a little bit. I don't want to over tighten it and deflect it, because if you over tighten it you can damage the bottom of the bowl. So just till it's snug. There we go. Okay, one more thing before I finish putting this back together, and that is I have room back here behind this fuel line between here and the tank. It's hard for me to show you this, but I'll zoom out. So back here I have some room. So here's the fuel line by my finger. What I'm gonna do is I found these on Amazon. I put these on all my mower equipment. It's a shutoff valve. So the beautiful thing about this is I have an old 1969 Boland's tractor with an ancient, it's actually a Kohler one lunger in it. And the fuel bowl, same thing here, the fuel bowl and the carburetor deteriorated. It works perfect, but I could never get a seal anymore on that gasket. You know, it just leaked just a little bit. So if you let it sit over a period of days, it would just empty the fuel tank. So what I did was I installed one of these in the fuel line. Now the other thing I can do is I can run this thing out of fuel. So I'm just gonna cut the fuel line and I'm gonna put this shut off right here where I can get at it. I got plenty of room under here with that cover in there, and I can shut the fuel off or turn the fuel on. It'll just make it that much easier. So I'll put that in and then I'll show you that. All right, let's see what we got here. See if I can give you a little zoom in. Yeah, there it is. So here's the shut off. Right, coming up from my tank, I can reach in here, I can turn a fuel line on and off real easy, and then over here I just got to put my clamp back on. All right, I've had the fuel here. I put the fuel bowl back on, and I'm trying to see if it's going to leak. I might have a little bit of fuel here. I just got to check and see. It's easy enough to change that gasket if I have to, and if this is leaking a little bit, I'll order the gasket for this and also the base gasket for that screw. And they're notorious to leak right around this fuel bowl because that gasket just gets brittle over time. So if you're ever gonna, you know, take the bowl off, I'd recommend you get a gasket. But anyway, I got my fancy little flat pliers here, and I'm gonna put that hose clamp back on there, that flat bean clamp. So I'll show you that. These just fit that perfectly. These are great for that. So I'm going to put this base back on again, and again I've got to line this tube up with this hose first, slide that in, make sure that fits in there, and then line this up and put my two screws in. 5/16 socket driver works great for this. Eighth of a turn, if that, from tight. Air filter goes back on. Painful because of the chute. There we go. Drops in. Put that up. Again, 5/16 socket driver. I use these so much. It's just the tool of choice here. I got a longer one from Matco. This is my short one from Snap-on. It works good. All right, we'll pull it down and see. we go. Just take that bowl off and put a little carb cleaner on there, clean it up, and away it goes. It wouldn't start before because no fuel's going through the fuel bowl. Alright, so we got that mower leaf shredder vacuum thing going. Be a cool tool to use here. I'm going to have to wear a dust mask with it, obviously, but I'm hoping I can suck up the leaves in my yard with it. Just to show you how to take it apart. It's not that hard. Take that bowl off. I did notice it is leaking a touch, so I did put that fuel shut off. I'm going to shut that fuel off when I'm done with it each time, but I'm going to go ahead and order the gasket for that bowl. Probably order 2 or 3 and keep them in stock like I usually do, and I'm going to order the gasket for the bottom of the drain, the bowl screw, which is the jet. So both those gaskets I'll change. Alright, if you like the video, please hit that subscribe button, tap that like button, and I'll talk to you in the next one.